Greetings. You have tuned in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul with Sister B. Mello brings to you every first Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, where there is a 15 to 45-minute segment called The Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own. So we sometimes ask you to relax, kick back, vibe out to cool sounds, or definitely, most definitely, have fireside chats and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. On the corner, on the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, you'll have the Artist Talk, where we showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel and R&B rappers from around the Bay to across the globe. They will share their creative process and creative lived experience. The second part of the corner could be Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of today's brilliant mind, along with geniuses from our past. We are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. Or you can have She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where you will hear from individuals sharing their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done and is doing in their lives, which are inspirational messages. Also, we highlight Golden Lights affirmations to impart healing medicine in the souls of the brilliant minds today. Every Saturday, second Saturday of the month, you have the Medicine Hour with my co-host, Mr. George Pearson. He is the founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine. This is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, finance, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness, healthy eating habits, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month, you have Education is the Best Medicine, hosted by the founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine, Mr. George Pearson. Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, which is community-based, health educational advocacy based, and a resource-based organization that uses public media, resources, radio, newspapers, and church-based community health fairs to provide information and education. The fourth Saturday of the month, which is today, is the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show, where we have real talk conversations with individuals to tell you what they're doing in our community. We have hot topics, and tonight hot topic is It's My Oxygen, knowing the importance of holding sacred space. The fifth Saturday of the month is the kitchen table, hosted by Sister B. Mello, aka Barbara Howard. We have real talk conversations with individuals, organizations, community leaders, business owners from around the Bay Area to across the globe. On the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth Radio, you know I have Mr. Doc in the house, my co-host. Yee. And then we have Mr. Jackson, the Prince of Hearts. And then we have The Voice in the house. You guys will hear from them today. And of course, as we said before, today's conversation is around It Is My Oxygen, knowing the importance of holding space. We have a gentleman here today. Mr. Denzel is going to share with you about himself and about his organization. We are here to make sure that we provide information that's going to educate our community, bring love and peace and joy to our community, but most importantly, make sure we have real straight talk. So, Mr. Denzel, we want to thank you for being in here tonight. Before we get going, we want to have the Doc say a few words. We'll have the Prince of Hearts say a few words, and then we'll have The Voice, and then we'll get into Mr. Denzel. Hey! We back in the studios,
We
y'all.
back
And
in
look,
the
I
bag.
Miss B that got tongue tied. It's like, oh my God, ain't been back in a while. But hey, how you doing? How's the new year treating you?
Treating me well, Happy New Year's to everyone. Gong Hafa Choi to our relatives and to
Hmm.
our Purepecha nation in Michoacán, Mexico. Feliz Año Nuevo, el Fuego Nuevo.
Hey.
So
Hey,
it's a new
the
fire,
Latin
2023,
doctor
right?
up in the house.
Yeah, so it's good to hear from you, Sister B. Mello.
Thank
Here we
you.
are.
Thank you.
So you want to know how this year has been so far?
Yes, for you, Mr. Prince of Hearts. Introduce
Honestly,
yourself.
so my name is Kentani Jackson, the Prince of Hearts, and it's really been a blessing. I feel like I've been adding in more things I want to do with my life.
Mm.
In alignment with my life purpose. Just started college yesterday.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what's up.
And
Okay.
I'm working with a program now it's called RJOY, so it's Restorative Justice for Oakland Youth. And so
Okay. Restorative Justice for
Oakland
Oakland
Youth.
Youth.
And they're teaching me how to host healing circles, community building circles, and harm and conflict circles.
Oh,
And so, like, my goal is to be a facilitator and to hold space when we're talking about stuff.
that's right. Hey, right on.
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's Chancellor, aka The Voice. This year so far has been, I would say, one of my most intentional years.
Mm.
Just as far as with my energy, just being more mindful of what I feed my brain, body, and what I get.
It's your oxygen.
Mm-hmm. And I would say I've been learning a lot this year within just a short span of time, just 1 month going already, just like that. But I've learned a ton. Also, like me and the Prince of Hearts, where I also just started college as well.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
All right. What you studying?
I'm going for Autobody.
Okay. Right on. Right on. Because you're going to own a lot with the cars on there that
I
you go
don't
buy.
I just know everywhere in the world, people love messing with their cars. They like today, we seen homie who got into an accident.
Oh,
It's
my.
always gonna need some fix on the car. So
That's right. Well, over here to you, our special guest that's in the house tonight. First of all, we want to say thank you for being here, brother. Thank you for holding the space that you hold in this world. Introduce yourself.
Listen, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me on the show. The energy in here is great. The people, the faces are beautiful. You know what I mean? So kudos to y'all for hosting an amazing show. Thanks for having me on. Again, like everybody, or like you said, my name is Denzel Herrera Davis.
All right.
I just wanted to, say kudos to you over there representing for the Hispanic nation over there.
Hey.
My mother's Colombian.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And so I'm the founder of Create the Space, and that's how I know some of the faces in this room. We hold space for Black men, centering their mental health. We build community, and then we activate and provide agency for that community. Yeah.
Well, give some shout outs to mom and the family, because they be like, no, you are not on a radio show and ain't said not a word about us.
You're right. So I just talked to my mom earlier, so I definitely got
Hey,
shout
Mom.
out moms. Yes, you'll appreciate that. That's my rock. She's taught me everything I know about, pertinent to this topic.
Yes.
Talking about, your oxygen. And I think, maybe it'd be appropriate for us to just take a moment and breathe.
Oh, I'm so digging it. Lead us.
Ooh, all right.
Lead us.
So if you will, maybe take a moment to close your eyes and really just tap into yourself real quick and center yourself in where you are and align yourself with your breath and take a few paces to breathe in, whatever feels comfortable for you. Hold it at the top and then breathe out. Let's do one more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Happy to rest to go.
It's okay. Say it's your oxygen. Okay. So with that, thank you for taking us through that special moment. We have to take those type of moments in our lives. We have to take time to breathe it's again your oxygen and knowing the importance of holding sacred space. So, do you have any family here? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, you know, good, bad, ugly, challenging,
Yeah. So no family here.
Oh.
But we started talking about my mother. My mother is she's retired now. She was a flight attendant, and so
Mm.
she was all over the place. So I kind of had like sort of like a little bit of an army brat
Okay.
growing experience because I was always traveling.
Hmm.
And then my mother and father divorced when I was 5 years old.
Hmm.
Father's Jamaican. Shout out to Pops.
Hey, Pops.
Yeah. Rolling Stone. He was a musician.
My
Yeah.
father was a Rolling Stone
Yeah,
too.
he was a
So-
musician and Jamaican, and so whatever comes with that.
That's
doesn't
right.
matter. So
We
yes,
did it.
yeah. So my family was, is a mixture, and both first generation immigrants, and so their influence was heavy on
Mhm.
me growing up. But I grew up here in America, and since I was born in Florida, Tampa, Florida.
Now I was born in Pahokee,
Okay.
Florida.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I grew up in Florida, and Florida is Florida.
Yeah.
But since then, I moved all over the place. I've been in Chicago. I've been in New York. I've been here in the Bay Area, Oakland. I went to school in Michigan. So I've kind of traveled all over the place, and this is probably the place and the time in my life where I'm like, I want to set down some roots.
Hey.
And so I've been here for going on
Exactly.
7 years now, which is kind of the longest
Wow.
that I've been anywhere outside of home.
Hmm.
And so that I'm proud to say that Oakland has been that place for me, where it's like, I feel the energy here, the love, the pride, the culture. I wanted to perpetuate, defend,
That's
elevate
right.
all of that. And so I found that space here.
Excellent. So, with the topic for today, Doc, when we say it's your oxygen, knowing the importance of holding sacred space, what comes to your spirit and your mind and your soul, about holding that sacred space? What is that for you?
Yeah, definitely. So, the thought of, that breath, I really like breath because it's free,
Mm.
and it's one of those things that, at times, you can't not breathe,
Hmm.
but you can often forget to be intentional about your breath, how often times that, you'll see yourself kind of like,
Hmm.
and it's just like, oh, hey,
Right.
come back to it, and breathe. So that sacred space, the first thing that comes is the internally,
Hmm.
like being able to have, you got your person, you got your mind, body, spirit, and make that sacred space is a good place. And it's nice to have also external spaces that reflect that inner beauty that we all have, so I personally like to have even little physical altars of sacred spaces. It's my, I have a little nook, a little corner at home, I get to face, the sunrise, and that's my routine. I got a couple of things here and there that remind me of family, I have my ancestors, mis abuelos, mis abuelas, my brother, as that we were talking about how in those sacred spaces, that's where I feel that love too. My grandma prays for me. I got one grandma, blessed to have her, still walking with us in Mexico, and I got to see her in November. So I was gone for a little
Took
bit of
the
a
family.
while. Yeah, it took the babies. Grandma said, I got to see the babies. So I said, we got to make it happen. So we flew out. But she gets up every morning at 5 a.m. and prays to her altar, and names every grandchild, names
Wow.
every son. So
Intentional.
That's that sacred space. And those things of, you can make it with a couple of things, and if not, at least start right here. So that's what comes to mind
Okay.
to start. How we feeling?
How we
I love
feeling?
it. Yeah.
Mr. Jackson?
That was a lot to take in. I really appreciate you sharing that. I had to actually look up what sacred meant for a second. 'Cause I'm like, sacred space. What? When it comes to mine, I think about spirituality, and I was right. It's about your connection with God and just having that holding that for yourself. And so I agree with Doc, and just honestly, inside my heart is where the real sacred space is. And I feel like, it took a while for me to be spiritually grounded. I feel like people need to have some type of find their own connection with the higher power, and just really meditate. I feel like meditation is like me holding sacred space as well, like just me taking a moment to even breathe, like Denzel. Thank you, Denzel, so much for that. Just that moment to ground ourselves. And so I would say, honestly, my heart, like I really don't need to be physically anywhere. I don't have any altars, but I want to start creating some because I do like altars. I just never knew how to create one myself. But it's really just the energy you put and the intentions you put behind it. And so I would also have to say, like, just being with my family is sacred space in itself because those are the people that I was destined to have as family members, and I feel like they really love me. They had me as I got them, and that's a sacred space as well.
Okay.
That was good, especially what you had to say, Doc. To me, first thing that popped up in my mind for a sacred space would be for me, like mentally, like being able to have that sacred space of hearing your mind too. Like Doc said, be external, internal. I view my mind as like my mind is sacred. I feel like in any sacred space, you wouldn't allow any negative external forces, energy to intervene with that. So it's like still being able to go through a rough day and still have control of your mind and still have control of your emotions, control of your focus, and your thoughts and actions. To me, that's really sacred. At times, you can feel like you may not have full control of your life, your mind, whatever habits, but being able to still like have control and feel that you do have control, that's like a whole different outlook on life. Like that's a whole different drive, ambition, like motivation. So I would say externally for me will definitely be in nature. That's probably my favorite place to meditate. Is just out in nature. Same thing with y'all, family. Most of my family, I barely have any family out here, so I just recently came back from North Carolina for the New Year's. Had to spend Christmas with them, and it honestly felt like I was in a sacred area. Like I could just feel the energy, even just being in my hometown, but especially around the family. The family, like it's different because you could feel that bond, that energy in between, like that connected bond.
And the reason, thank you for sharing. And the reason why I came to you last is because you have, what is the name of your nonprofit or organization that you work with?
So we're actually a for-profit organization.
A for-profit,
yes,
okay.
Because one of our first mission statements is that we invest in Black men.
Okay.
And we believe other people should too. And so, founder of Create the Space, which is a concierge for wellness and community focused on Black men's mental health. What was the rest
so
of the
no,
question?
the rest of it was the reason why I had them go around first is because I wanted you to talk about the organization and the importance of you all creating that space.
Yeah, absolutely. So just reflecting on all the answers that we heard here in the room, like all of those things resonate, right?
Absolutely.
When you talk about holding space, and I think everybody has their unique ways, and I love altars as well. I recognize, like, I kind of take parts of my altar and move it places. Like little altars, sprinkling water, Florida water, all kinds of stuff. I'm turning into my mother.
Which is a good thing. Which is a good thing.
For sure. But if I could add to one thing,
of course.
I would
this
say,
is what it's about.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, damn, I was gonna say that, and I was gonna say that, and then I was like, what can I contribute?
Like minds.
Yeah,
when your minds think alike.
We're flowing.
There we go.
So, the one thing I would add to that is being able to preserve the sanctity of your own inner voice.
Say that again, please.
Being able to preserve the sanctity of your own inner voice. And I think so often throughout the day we lose touch with our inner voice because we are drawn externally into whatever is going on around us, good, bad, or ugly, you know. And so just being able to be diligent, perseverant, and a champion of your own inner voice such that we're not questioning ourselves. So we have the confidence, so we have the faith in our inner gods to move forward through whatever challenges we're in. Because we you know, we're human, and so we find ourselves in these moments where we feel weak or we feel alone. And Lord knows I've been feeling some of these things recently. But, you know, it's in those moments where I should have done this, right? You know, maybe I should quit, or maybe whatever the case is, but then giving yourself enough stillness to actually find the sanctity of your own inner voice.
We dig it. So go ahead. You know, y'all
He's
know.
like, I look like Doc's gonna say something.
Y'all already know how we do.
Yeah, no,
Jump on
appreciate
in.
all the shares. I'm like, man, it's Friday. I'm supposed to be home, getting ready tired. I'm getting energized. So, yeah, no, definitely. Like, I really appreciate the shares and just feeling inspired. One of the things I want to share is, you know, I'm very fortunate and privileged to work at an organization called Homies Empowerment.
Yes.
It's a nonprofit organization here in East Oakland that does a variety of things. Definitely check us out. Go to our website, homiesempowerment.com. Find ways how you could tap in and get involved. But one of the things that the team, our community really focuses on is, you know, we find that sacred space within us, because, you know, we're all sacred, you know, we all have purpose, and whatever it is, we just gotta, you know, be able to pull those strings out. I loved how you all mentioned la familia, you know, family is sacred, and those relations, you know, those connections, definitely those altares, those spaces. And speaking of spaces, what I really like that the team focuses on at Homies is every space and location they create sacred spaces for the community, because we recognize that we have to be each other's reflections, and we have to take up space, and we deserve a little bit more space too. So I love how, you know, in creating space, there's always everyone has their own path, but you could really easily start here, and then when you really like, man, I got this, you know, it's part of me, it is me, now we could share that gift to everybody in the community. So sacred spaces, yeah, you know, let's grow them more.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul with your sister B Mello, on Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. The Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every first Saturday of the month the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, the Artist Talk, Why I Dream, and She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. Every second Saturday of the month, we have the Medicine Hour. Every third Saturday of the month, we have Education is the Best Medicine. Every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the Lights Out, Straight Talk, a youth and young adult radio show. Every fifth Saturday, we have Kitchen Table. Tonight, you have tuned into the Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show, which tonight's topic is, it's my oxygen, knowing the importance of holding sacred space. So with the brothers here today, we're holding sacred space. It is my honor to be in here with these brilliant minds, these men that is really doing the work in the actual community. And today I want to ask you the word control. And you just talked about being able to control your space. To me, sacred space also is being in control of me. Like you said, any toxicity that's out there, I have the control to say yes, and I have the control to say no. So how do you, through your daily routine, control your space? How do you control your space? Anybody can start.
Well, I'll start off. I mean, honestly, recently, when I wake up, it's always going to be something. Every day is a different day, a whole different beast, you know, taking it one day at a time. But
That's right.
I immediately think about what I'm grateful for, and then think about what do I have control over. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to control, you don't always have control of everything. It's some things that will never be in your control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going back to what I was just saying a little while ago, having control of your mind. You know, I can control the things that I do, the things that feed my mind. So I always keep that in mind as well. And honestly, I feel like when people don't feel like they have control, it has to do with confusion too. Just not knowing answers to a lot of questions, then you may feel like you're out of control. But when things start to get less confusing, or if you just know something, you know, you feel like I got this. Like let me just take it into my own hands. Let me get down to business. But when you confused, you know, it's not that easy just to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when you have control of your mind, then you're able to switch your focus, just the narrative of the whole day.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll add to that. You know, I'm an engineer, so I learned that you can't manage what you don't measure, and you can't
Ooh.
measure what you don't monitor, right? And so if we're not intimately in tune with ourselves and consciously aware of ourselves and intently purposeful about ourselves, then you know, we talk about this in some of our classes, but then we're kind of victim to our circumstances.
Oh, say that again, please.
Yeah, so if we're not intently aware with ourselves consciously all the time, then we're a victim to our circumstances, unless we've attuned ourselves to the patterns that we want to live through. Right?
That's right.
And so I would first say, by giving yourself the practice to be intimate with yourself.
Say that again,
Right.
please.
Practicing that self-intimacy is key, especially as Black men, right?
Mhm.
Because, you know, I think we're behind the learning curve here when it comes to intimacy, not only with self, but with each other as well. And so I think the barometer starts with self, right? And then measuring where you are now. And then you can take a baseline and say, where would I like to be?
Well, once again, you have tuned in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul with your Sister B. Mello. And we have Mr. Doc, and then we have the Prince of Hearts, my co-host, and then we have The Voice. So this is so important for us to have conversations like this, hot topics, because we're talking to our community. We're talking to the young men that we see every day, you know, or a young man all over the world. It's to me, it's so important that we have these candid conversations, is real talk, sacred conversations, because we're trying to heal our community. We're trying to heal the world. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do that is through people like you, through men like you. My platform is your platform. It is my responsibility and my duty to make sure we're heard, that a different perspective, something may hit a person. It's like, ooh, I never thought of that. So having this kind of conversation, even though I'm a woman, but being in the space with you all and you guys are welcoming me in this space, this is what we're talking about. This is what our community, to me, needs. You're talking about the intimacy and having conversations with our partners, with our friends, with our mates. Communication is the key. And if we can't communicate, we have to learn how to communicate with ourselves first. Control me. Then I'm not trying to control you, because I know that I'm sacred. You're sacred when I'm controlling me. So to have that, to be able to talk with you guys, this is I can cry. I'm a big baby, but it's because I know that the legacy must go on. And the legacy goes on through you all. I'm 58, be 59, moving. It's my responsibility to whatever I can do to hold space for you all, to give you what you need. That's what Miss B is about. That's my heart. That's where I'm at. And I know I've been chosen for that cause, and I'm rolling with it. I'm riding with it. I'm walking with it. I'm talking with it, and I'm doing it, the darn thing.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying?
We appreciate the pioneers, because I don't necessarily have to be a trailblazer all
Come on.
Right.
Speak. Come on, brother.
I think that's one of the things that we succumb to when talking about mental health and holding space and oxygen, right? Like, as men, we're talking about a performative nature all the time, right? And it's like, even with ourselves, we're competitive with ourselves. I got to be faster. I got to be stronger. I got to look better. all these things, pressures that we put on ourselves.
Right.
And we haven't learned to value ourselves first.
Mm. Anybody else want to add into that?
Control.
Control.
Yeah, oh man, if we could control everything, how boring would the world be? Control. I think one of the things that, in the sense of like how control kind of shown up in my life has been like, growing up in East Oakland, there's a lot of things that I wish I had control that's out of my control. Like in the recent topics right now, we have gun violence that's just wild in our community. That's something
Let's
I wish
speak on
I had
it, please.
control, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of those things that I'm making the choice to, like, I'm choosing, I'm gonna control, but I also realize that you make the active choice. I always tell this in my household with my wife. Shout out to the wife.
Yeah, you
Watch
better.
out for the babies right now. These hours, miss dinner. It's story time. No, I love, much love to my baby. But one of the things we always say is like, man, really choose your suffering. And I really look at suffering.
Can you say that loud and proud and a little again?
Yeah, choose
your
suffering. Choose your suffering, because there's a lot of things that when I speak around the space and the thoughts and the mind and that voice and those things, I always ask myself, like, how am I feeling about this? Let me check in. Is my hands feeling kind of stiff? I'm starting to feel that little stress point right there. Those types of things, and allow myself to have that breath, because it's there, it's free, it's available, and to provide a little bit of space. I've learned that I've started to kind of not let go the want to have control, and then I could get to the other things a lot quicker. Get past my thoughts of how things need to be, anything, like, let it be what it is. Life is a great mystery. I'm going to enjoy it every step of the way and be aware of like the blessings and the beautiful things and the little details, and step back when I have to. So control, that's how it's changed a little bit, from being a young person, really, really, wanting to be in control for many different reasons, to now being, 34 and kind of going like, yeah, I could, you drive. I'm cool. I can enjoy the view. Have my peace now.
I like that. I love it. I
do want to add in.
Oh, add in.
Go.
This is Hot Topics, Straight Talk Youth.
I'm sweating.
Radio show.
First, I have to say I did have a long week, so I appreciate the energy in here, because I am tired, and so I'm gonna be letting y'all do more of the talking this day. I'm gonna just soak everything in. But I can say, when it comes to control, I consider myself the master of my reality, and I feel like,
Can you say that again, please, sir?
Bars coming out.
Hey.
Consider myself the master of my reality, and so
the master of your. Can we just hold right there? Hold that space right there.
Yeah.
The master of my reality.
And it's real, because you just really have to focus on what you want to create in life. And so I feel like, and similar to what Denzel was talking about with so it's a quote I like to say: if you care about other people's opinions, you'll always be their prisoner. And so,
can you just say that up loud or go again, please? Y'all dropping the nuggets. We need the folks to hear.
If you care about other people's opinions, you'll always be their prisoner. And so he was talking something similar about that, and just how you got to have your own inner voice and not listen to the voices of others. And I feel like we're like antennas, so we soak up a lot of energy, and it's hard to. So one of the things with controlling your own space is learning how to grow your energy and learn how to process these things, and sometimes like block out certain things, and just really being conscious. I feel like that consciousness.
The eyes of the
takes-
conscience soul.
Exactly, and so that is a journey itself, and it
Mhm.
really takes like dedication. 'Cause I remember I had so many times where I'm like, well, I'm just scrolling through Instagram for I don't know how many long, like how many minutes,
How many
I'm just-
hours?
exactly, and it's like you lose.
notice.
Sometimes you lose yourself, and you got to come back to yourself. And I feel like that's that grounding. It takes practice. So.
Now you not gonna. And so the next question was the value of time.
Mm.
What do we think about that? You know, the value of time. You were just saying that if you don't control your mind and your thinking and your habits and the things you want to do, it's like you be on this thing for hours, and it's like you all that time you've been on there, you could have been creating the business, you could have put all kinds of things together, you know. But to get our young, the reason why I'm also saying it is because we have this here, and our children are on it all the time. So being able to, what would you say to a mom, a family member, or community leader, whomever that's dealing with young folks or young, you know, people about their time, the value of time, what the value of time for yourself, but also for the young people? How do we get them to value time? And how did you start? You know, what made you, what clicked in you to think about valuing time?
I would say, honestly, first thing that comes to mind is the time is the most expensive thing you ever
Ooh.
spend, since it's the only thing you can't get back.
That's right.
And to me, like, how I found real value in my time, like you said, you could be productive in that time,
Mm-hmm.
or you could be self-healing. It's many other things I feel like you could be doing that's, you know, that doesn't feel like you have to be like on grind mode
All
or
the
be
time.
like up tense. Like it's still some other things you can do with that time, like just taking time out for yourself, being in your own sacred space,
Mm-hmm.
just focusing on your breathing, focusing on the present, just
And this don't
thankfulness,
cost you
gratefulness.
nothing.
Yeah.
It does not cost you anything. It doesn't cost you money to sit back, relax, and think about what you're doing. You are in control of your time. Some circumstances you're not, but majority of the time we are. We are in control of our time. So what are you going to do with the time? You know, God's been working with me, and I shared this in one of my workshops. Is He had me look at the playing basketball. 15 minutes. 15 minutes each quarter. God said, don't tell me you don't have time. You got 15 minutes in each quarter. Look all of what they're doing in 15 minutes. What can you do? How do you set the timer for what you're going to do in 15 minutes? And I was like, oh, I can't say I don't have time anymore, because I can get a lot done in 15 minutes or in 5 minutes. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we don't have time. It's like, yes, you do. You have to carve out the time, because anytime it's something you really want to do, you're going to carve out the time. So how do we, moving forward in a new year, start thinking about being intentional about how do we control ourselves? How do we carve out the time? How do we know that the oxygen that we breathe, our space is sacred? You can say, I don't want to hear that. I love you, but the gossip and all that, I got some things I got to think about doing. How do I now start thinking differently about the value of time? Anybody can.
Yeah. Oh, go for it.
Well, I can talk about it from a couple of different lenses, but I will say this: I've had many lives, and in some of those different lives, the value of time, the value I associated with time was different. Because before I started working for myself and started this organization, I used to be a consultant,
Okay.
right? And I worked for one of the big 4 firms, and everything they measured was in time.
Oh my! Can you say that again?
Everything they measured was in time, in terms of your worth, your value, your style. Like everything is like a measure of time. And so then it is like when you cultivate a lifestyle like this, then it starts to permeate your thought process and your values, and then you start judging people based on associations with time. It's like, well, you have to be on time, or you don't value my time, or my time is money, and you start nickel and diming people for, and then distancing yourself from people who you don't think value your time, right? And so that's a very capitalistic kind of perspective, and I've shared that.
Right.
But then I became an entrepreneur and recognized that what I thought was my time was largely not. And everything that I planned goes according to somebody other than what I planned, in many cases. And so I've taken a new relationship with time, recognizing that I've had to release and relinquish a lot of control, and trust that things will happen according to their own time. And so then my own internal barometer and placement of value on time is different, because I value my time and how I move. And if I feel like showing up, then it's a measure of my time, and it's not a measure of productivity. And that changed the game for me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, time is an interesting concept. I feel like there's a lot of theories about time, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I want to say that to the young people, life is short, and I like to always remind myself, definitely with those that are not here no more, and we understand that we don't ever know, tomorrow is not promised. And so I remember being young, and I used to hear that it didn't really hit until you actually lose people. You don't really appreciate what you have until it's gone. And so what I say about time is like, how do you want to live your life? How do you want to spend? Like, at the end of it, do you want to I would just say, do you want to waste your time doing things for other people and watching other people's lives on Instagram and this and that? Or do you actually want to do something with your own life and actually make a difference with yourself? Because it's a book that I gave Chance, and Chance, I got to talk about this book. It's called How to Fall in Love with the Process of Becoming Great.
Repeat that. Say that loud, please.
How to fall in love with the process of becoming great. And one of the chapters, actually, I think it's like chapter 2, is building your own house. And so, a lot of times we feel like we're doing things for other people, but you're always building your own house. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. It's your life that you're creating. And so when you think that you're working for your boss, or you're doing this for somebody else, or you're doing this, you're actually building your own life. This is your life. You got to live. So, build a house that you want to live in.
Yeah, that's what's up. You gave me a good visual of like looking at a home. Like, you could focus on what's externally out front of your home. You could focus what's inside your home. Or you could focus, what you got in the backyard, that space you share with others, but still like sacred space. So appreciate you for that. Thank you. That's really cool. Time. Man. Definitely different lenses, but I think I'm getting more comfortable with saying that I think time is made up. I don't think time is real. And I look at it, and I would say it from the lens of like, at what point because I don't know this, I'll Google it, but who like invented time, who said 12-hour, 24-hour clock, minute, 60 seconds, the things that made sense in the sake of like duration of a day. But my grandfather, Antonio Rodriguez, may rest in peace. He worked lands, and he had cattle, and he had a lot of land that he had to water, tend to, and he never had a watch. He was up before the sunrise, had his coffee. He's getting ready, will load up in his sky blue truck, and then head over to the field, catch the sunrise there, do the work, and be back at home before noon for lunch. And that would be the course of a work day. So time in that essence kind of moves a little bit different. And I really look at it as a tool. Really look at it as a tool. We're naming about those 15 minutes and those things that we can do within that. How are you using that tool, and are you using it well? because that I love how you mentioned, Denzel, that time is money and how folks bring that up.
Mhm.
Man, well, you could really look at what am I doing within this hour of the day, and if you attach financial compensation, well, you could use time measurement and money and make a different calculation for that hour of time. What's the worth and what you're going to go after and work for? Really use that tool a little bit differently. And one other last lens. This is the one that I like, kind of just having fun. This is for those heavies. The like, it's time is just really fun. I like time traveling. Do it all the time. Think about when I was a kid and those memories, right? And then time travel to the future too. But in the medical field, we call that anxiety. I get anxious about the bills, so I'm thinking about what's there. But always with breath coming back to the now, because I remind myself, time is made up.
I just want to say the now, the present moment. I forgot to add that, like, when you really just, time is a construction. It might be a social construct, and that we're only right here and right now. And I really resonate with that. I just wanted to say that.
Wow. Once again, you have tuned in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul with your Sister B. Mello. And you are tuned in to the Lights Out Straight Talk Youth and Young Adult Radio Show with my co-host, the Doc, the Prince of Hearts, and the Voice. And tonight we have in the studios with us, we're so grateful and thankful to have this opportunity to have Mr. Denzel in here with us. And we are here to make sure that we give our community the love, the tools we need to move forward in this world. And most importantly, knowing that we are here for a reason and purpose. So with that, planting seeds and purpose, what comes to your mind with both of those? We kind of touched on it a little bit. We're talking about believe. What do we believe that we can do in this season in our lives? How do we plant the seeds? How do we have self-care? What do we do for us to move forward? What is it that if we were telling someone, what would be the first thing you should do? And I love the breathing. There are simple things that we can do daily for ourselves that we are in control of, and start first with you and then moving forward with the world and other people. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, I think this is kind of topical, but I will say recognizing that things take time, right? And there's seasons and there's reasons.
Come on, let's keep this real up in here.
I didn't know y'all were getting all medical. I mean, meta and physical. But we can talk about it. Because, we talk about life as a frequency. Life is all about frequencies and energies, and frequencies resonate up and down. They oscillate, right? And so we talk about time. Time is our ability to put that thing in a linear construct. But energy is cyclical. And so I would say to people to recognize that you might be in a season. There might be a reason. But this too shall pass.
Come on.
And I think about it like, and this is just personal because this is personal to me, but I think about relationships.
Yeah.
And so much of our relationships, we take in snapshots of what's happening in our relationship.
Ooh, that's good.
And so, if it's not going well, then maybe I can't be with this person, or blah, blah, blah. Or we meet somebody and it goes well for 2 years, and you're like, yo, this is the perfect person. It's my boo. Like, I've never had an argument. We getting married. But what you don't recognize is, like, these are all cyclical experiences, right? And so what is today is not going to be tomorrow, and tomorrow might be next year or 5 years from now, right?
Say that again. Can you repeat? Folks, we got some. I wish y'all was up in the studio with us. We vibing up out of here.
I felt like
our oxygen, we using our oxygen for real. We getting looking. We healing up in this place.
I got the voice and the prince over here, so I had to step it up and realize.
And we have fun. That's what it's about. Go ahead.
And so, what's today, what's for today, the work that you put in today, I'll say, is not meant for you for today. And everything happens in a reason or a season. So I want people to recognize that they must be patient with themselves and others, because not only is it about your season, but then somebody else has a season.
Come
And your
on.
seasons might not be synchronized, right? And so understanding that people are always evolving, people are always planting, people are always cultivating, people are always
Mhm.
growing, and those seasons change,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? And we have to be patient enough to see ourselves through the seasons.
Mm.
Because if we're always reacting to how we feel in the immediate time, then we don't get to see the growth. Right?
And you know, that just brought to mind of a
Man.
farmer. When the farmer, he has to till the soil,
Mhm.
and then he
Mhm.
has to plant the seeds. He has to do the work of the watering, and then he has to have patience to watch it grow.
Mhm.
And like you were saying, being patient, that's one of the most important things we want you guys to hear for us tonight, is to be patient with yourself and with others. Go ahead.
Because we're in cancel culture right now. I mean,
Come on.
We can't be patient with anybody at this moment.
Oh, say that again. What?
I mean, that's the youth term, like cancel culture, man.
Okay, cancel. Give me, teach Ms. B. Look, cancel. Look, let's buy. Let's go. Cancel. Now that's, but it makes a whole lot of sense to me now about what's happening. Cancel culture.
Mhm.
Explain.
So, cancel
Please.
culture is basically social media. Not just
Social media.
Yeah, but social media. Let's say we have a iconic person on social media, or any just celebrity, and they make a controversial statement, or they just do anything controversial, and they feel like they don't deserve to have the how can I say this? They don't deserve to be praised anymore. Like the cancel culture is like, we're denouncing you, like you're not
Okay.
it no more, like you're done for.
Yeah,
So
one
you're canceling
wrong-
the culture,
Right.
canceling the people that's not doing the right thing.
One wrong,
Yeah,
but it's like
that's
one
a good
wrong
way to put it.
step,
Yeah.
and we're taking everything away from you. It's
Yeah.
easy to cancel you, and so the
Yeah.
the idea kind of spreads across, like similar to like dating apps, like Tinder and Hinge and all these other dating apps. Swipe right, swipe left. That's the same thing as cancel culture, because the moment I decide that I'm not interested,
Mhm.
it's on to the next one, and that's how I view cancel culture.
Wow. Well, we learn something new every day. Cancel culture, and to the older audience now, you also get the opportunity to know what the young folks are thinking, and to understand.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
I want to go back to your earlier question about, what advice would I give to people that want to plant seeds and find their purpose? And I feel
Yes.
like it's really about your vision. You gotta have a vision, and that takes some internal work. And it's like, honestly, you can't plant. You gotta have a vision of what you want the seed to become. You just, what are you planting? Are you just planting anything, and anything will just come out? And so I feel like, at first you gotta
Be
start
intentional.
with the foundation of what you actually want. What do you
Yes.
desire? What do you want to take out of this experience of life? And so, and then once you figure that out, you start to plant the seeds.
I got a lot to add on to that too.
Go ahead.
Come on
Go ahead.
with it, bro.
Come with
Share
it.
the voice.
Come with.
This question is special to me because I remember on our first podcast that we ever did together, I talked about how I came from North Carolina to
Yes.
the Bay Area, and what was my goal, my mission, I should say, was to plant a seed and to watch it grow, but let it grow like healthy. Like you said, you have to have the vision. So the first thing I thought about was, you got to ask yourself, how do you want to live your life? How do you see yourself living? Like, what do you want to reap out of like all the energy you're putting into? When it is, it's not hard. I wouldn't say it's not easy growing a plant, but it's simple. This and that.
The
What kind,
steps.
what kind of soil do you want? What kind of climate?
Mm.
How much will you have to tend to it? Does it grow by itself? How much water does it need? Stuff like that. And it's like, you can plant the wrong seeds too.
Mhm.
Just how some plants are like
Mhm.
invasive to like some areas, and it just takes over like wildfire. Like, you don't want to plant the wrong seeds, And you have to maintain the seeds while it's growing up. It's just like, what are the pillars of your life? Like, I feel like you want to plant the pillars of your life and then focus your energies on that. and then build it up and just let that plant, like I said, I want it to grow. A plant can grow and still die, you know, but you still have to like tend to that plant like this is like your life, like your energy, like in that seed, you know.
So being in control, valuing the time, planting the positive seeds, and making sure you mentally take care of yourself. And with that, being able to believe, you gotta believe in yourself. Believe, planting those positive seeds, like you said, you have to do the internal work. And some things that we go through in life, some challenges or bad choices that we made, we can't be mad at ourselves. We have to have the patience to say, okay, I made that choice, so now I have to now take the steps to get back on top. I can't beat myself up. I can't be mad with others if it's not going as fast as I want it to go. But I still need to be in a lane, focused, doing what I need to do, and have the positive people with the oxygen that's going to feed the oxygen into me, that's not going to take it away. Because you can be, like you said, in the atmosphere or toxic conversations with people or an environment that it won't be conducive to what you're trying to do. So we have to kind of like monitor and be in control of where we go and what we do and the people that we have around us.
I'll say, and I would say one thing that makes me think of is also having the ability to say no to yourself.
Oh, come on. Say that again.
The ability, the discernment, the will to say no to yourself. Because I'm looking at the word believe right behind you, and you're talking about belief. And so, you know, oftentimes I come back to myself and I'm like, if I actually believe this, do I actually believe this? Because if I do, then I must also have the will to persevere. Right? Because if I'm not persevering, then I must not actually believe it.
Ooh, come on. Let's keep it real and up so in here.
Like, what do I do when people aren't looking? When there's no one in the room?
How do you hold the sacred space within yourself?
The voice.
The voice. The inner voice. That sacred space. You have something to say?
Oh, yeah. No, I just love what you're sharing. Just, you know, add on. Like, you mentioned about, like, when no one's around, you know, that 3 a.m. wake up call, and what's the thought there, and what's the feel then, and how are we doing, you know? Yeah, man, like definitely. Yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Wow.
I want to add something too.
Go ahead.
And you was talking about how, you know, people beat themselves up about the past mistakes, and I was just talking to Denzel about this. Like, one little mistake I can make can cause me to doubt, because I've been doing so much good progress. I've been on track. I'm on the marathon. And then I make this one little mistake, and it's like, am I really ready at this? Like, and then you start to doubt yourself, and you talk about belief. And there's a quote that I read earlier, and it was like, you know, the surest way to create change is not to fight the past, but to actually focus on what's creating the future. And so, just wanted to add that.
Honestly, like what you said, how some things or external forces can just mess everything up. I kind of look at it as, you know, these seeds, how they grow up into a plant. I think of like a greenhouse is like a sacred place for these plants versus like plants that's being grown outdoors, where they have all these external forces everywhere. A hurricane, winds, tornado, anything come and tear it all down. No matter how strong it's been built up, it'll tear it up just like that. Well, if you have them plants, them seeds, them sacred spaces, getting the fertilizer, getting everything that they need, then, you know, they'll be more mature, more healthy, everything. So
Wow. Woo! Time flies when you're having fun, boy. We have like 2 minutes left. It's wow. This is amazing, and we will continue this conversation, and we will always create a sacred space for ourselves. Most importantly, remembering to our community and to everybody out there in Radio Land is that it's your oxygen, and knowing the importance of holding sacred space in yourself first. Wow, I'm going to give you guys look a half a second. What do you
Yeah.
want to say to the community? Give me your final thoughts, last words.
Real quick, community, go out in nature, find some spaces, occupy them. They belong to all of us. And when you're out there, look at the nature and the plants that we do have. Even it's that bit of grass that grows between the concrete and the cement. That bit of grass, we don't judge it by where it grows, and that
Ooh.
it's just like it's growing and it's nice. Look, it got nice flowers. That tree's got nice things. All those things. Let's treat ourselves that way with that same lens. And yeah, shout out to the sidewalk grass because that thing gets
Sidewalk
stepped on,
grass.
rode over, no rain, all the things, and it still grows. Concrete and everything.
I like that. To add on to that, the grass ain't green on the other side.
Ooh.
Only greener when you water.
Facts.
Heard.
Facts.
All right.
Oh, you.
we're like,
He was soaking it in.
yeah.
Soaking it in.
So it's funny because somebody thought he had a parking ticket on his car, and actually somebody put "you matter" on his thing.
Oh,
So I just want
wow.
to say you are enough, you matter, and don't let anybody define you.
All right.
Ooh, I say. Okay, I will say that every living creature on this planet has a biological nature and desire to expand and evolve and grow, right? And so if you look at some of these creatures prior to our human evolution and expansion and proliferation, and now we're like locusts, but these animals, elephants, and these prior to us being here were huge prehistorically, right? And so our nature is to fill up the space that we're given. And so I would say to people to make sure that you're creating enough space for yourself so that you can breathe and fill up that space.
Yes.
Right?
Ooh, Ashe, oh, all right. Well, once again, you have tuned into the Eyes of the Conscious Soul. We are so grateful to be here, and we want to say good night to you. Have a safe weekend. Enjoy yourself. Love on yourself. Hold yourself. Kiss yourself, and just know that believe in yourself. Believe that you can make it. That we can make it together. We are here to encourage, to motivate, and to share. I want to thank my sponsors. We have Elevate Gospel Ministries, Pastor Larry Austin, and BH Brilliant Minds Project Inc., and you, our community. We want to thank you. We were talking about keeping our mental health in check. NAMI Contra Costa has a program, uniquely programmed for the African American community. It's called the African American Uplift Program. Please check out NAMI Contra Costa. We give you non-clinical support. It's workshops, support groups, peer-to-peer counseling. Pull up NamiContraCosta.org. And we just want to tell you that everybody has purpose. Once again, you have tuned in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational music and gospel music station. Ashe, good night. We love you all. Thank you.
I say, oh.
Ashe, oh.